Y'all have been asking, so I'm going to talk about it. Joann Fabrics. Here's the history. Joann Fabrics has been around for like 80 years, and they filed for bankruptcy last year in March of 2024. They were then bought out by a private company who came in to like save the day, and now they're filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy again. A lot of you have been asking what my thoughts are on this, and so I thought I would share them with you guys. I have quite a few thoughts, both on either side of this issue, so I thought we would talk through them. As I understand it, right now, Joann Fabrics is looking for a buyer to swoop in before March 15th to save the day. If you're seeing a lot of posts from Joann lately, it's because they're trying to look all bright and shiny so that somebody wants them. It's like sassing up the puppy at the humane shelter, putting a little bow on him, trying to get somebody to buy him. The problem is, for the last few years, they have had some major internal issues with running their company that I think have actually affected the way that people shop there now. Let me back up a little bit. I have been a Joann shopper since I could go to Joann. My mom used to take me there when I was a kid. I would walk through the aisles and look at all the pretty fabrics. Like, it's kind of a majestic place to walk into when you're little and you like crafting and you're just kind of figuring things out. It's really kind of fun. It's magical. Fast forward to me being an adult, and I still found it magical to walk through the aisles of Joann because years ago, you never knew what you were going to find. It was always a beautiful place, was well kept. The staff, when I was in high school at the Lebanon, Pennsylvania, I'm going to shout them out. The Lebanon, Pennsylvania Joann Fabrics was my spot. I loved the people who worked there. They were so knowledgeable and able to point you in the right direction. As someone just learning, that was invaluable to me. Obviously, times have changed. Things are different now. Joann went through a lot of staffing issues after COVID, and I actually am friends with somebody who was an employee there for quite a long time who just recently quit. And she marked how different things were being run, how hard it was to get employees that actually wanted to like do their jobs there. It was just a difficult go. I think the world in general has been a little tricky since COVID, if we're just being honest. I think the draw of Joann is that it was like a one-stop crafting shop, right? So you could go there, you could look at the yarn, you could get something framed, you could check out the fabric, you could buy a machine if they had like their machines, but they also usually have like a Viking sewing gallery employed there. You could do scrapbook. I mean, like, it's just a menagerie of all the wonderful things that you might want to get into. So that's a huge draw of why we would go, right? When I started sewing more often and starting my quilting journey, I found that the quality of the fabric at Joann was not really what I was interested in sewing anymore. And I don't say that to be a snob. I just found that like the wear and tear on those fabrics was not as good as what I was getting from like a quality quilt shop and from like a quality quilt brand. Now, I will say I did enjoy looking at their apparel fabrics. I love looking at their fancy garment fabrics. I've gotten tons of stuff on clearance there and on major sale. I don't buy anything really full price there, but I do enjoy their sales, which leads me to the next point here. Their sales were phenomenal. You know, it's fun to walk into a place and look at your coupons and be like, oh, I got 50% off of a cut of fabric, or $15 off my whole purchase today. Like, it was really kind of a game, and they did a good job of playing that game. But lately, when you walk into a store, you can't even find half the stuff that you're looking for. I've seen pictures of like other Joann stores where it's just boxes everywhere. It's become kind of a joke where I live of like, how long's the line at Joann going to be? Like, do we have time for this today? And like, there have been times where I walk into a Joann and I see that the line is like 15 people long, and I just walk right back out because I know that even if I find something, I don't have time to wait in that line for that poor employee that's there by themselves with no help to try and check out anyway, their staffing has been a problem. I think management of those stores is tricky. There's the people who sit way, way up high who don't have to deal with the everyday customers. And then there's the people under them who are just trying to like make some money and have an honest job, and they get the flack from all these people who are dealing with, walking around boxes, low stock, low inventory, and they're taking the brunt of that while everyone else kind of sits up here and doesn't have to deal with that every day. So of course the employees are disgruntled. Like, I don't blame you. That's a tough job. What I will say is this. I think with Joann closing, if it closes, or even if it doesn't, we have an opportunity. The opportunity to support small businesses here. One thing I think Joann is lacking, and if they do get a buyer that I would love to see changed, is proper training of what they're selling, which it may be like way outside of what their like budget is for training employees. But I have seen so many people walk up to the fabric cutting counter, say, I don't know how to read this pattern. I'm brand new to sewing. How much of this should I get? And the employee behind the counter has no idea. Like, they don't know anything about what they're doing. And it's kind of like when they tell you not to go to Sally Beauty to like ask for beauty advice. Sorry if anybody works at Sally Beauty, but like, I don't go there for hair care advice because those people are not trained beauticians. Just like these people are not trained sewists or crafters. They're just not. Like, and that's okay, I guess. It would be awesome if they had a subject matter expert like in each section, which I know is probably complete, like they can't afford that. It's kind of like a cyclical thing. Like, you're brand new to a craft. Your first thought is, well, I'll go to the craft store, AKA Joann. They walk into Joann. Let's say they want to pick up sewing. They want to get a pattern. They want to buy the things to go with that pattern, maybe even get a machine if they're that new, walk out and be able to do the project. A good portion of the people at Joann have no idea how to direct them on how to do that project. So the person feels discouraged from the get-go because that person who's in the section working, let's say in the sewing department, doesn't know how to direct them. And this is not a bashing on Joann employees. God love those people. They work really hard. But if you don't know something, you just don't know something, right? My point is, if you're wanting to encourage new crafters, you have to have someone on the front lines who knows how to encourage them, right? Like, so if that person behind the cutting counter has some knowledge, and I've seen it happen a bunch of times too on the flip side of this, like where they're like, okay, let me walk you through this department. I'm going to show you what you need. But heavens, they can't do that with every person, especially when they're so wildly understaffed. So the person doesn't get the guidance that they need. They leave with like some of the things they need, but probably not all of them. Or they buy way too much because the person tells them, oh, I don't know, buy 5 yards of it when they really need one. And then they leave and they try and do the project. They either get discouraged because they can't figure out what to do, or they were not given the right directions, or they were not given the materials to set them up for success, or they were given so many materials that they get overwhelmed and they are like, well, this is wildly expensive. I can't do this hobby. It's going to cost me like an arm and a leg and a second mortgage on my house. Here's what I would love to see happen. If Joann gets purchased, put a subject matter expert, invest in it. Invest in somebody on the floor who can be a guide to those people, because 90% of those people walking into the store are going to have questions. Not that anyone at Joann is listening, but if you can afford it, that's where I think you need to invest, because then you are setting your customers up for success. They will return because they know that they can find the guidance that they need for something that they're starting out that they're unsure of how to do, and that creates a return customer cycle. On the flip side of this, let's not forget that there are brick and mortar stores, quilt shops, sewing stores, craft stores that are still thriving. And that's who I would love to see you guys support. I can talk to an employee who is passionate about sewing or whatever that craft is, and they can direct me on the things that I need. You can still make things affordable shopping at like brick and mortar independent stores. Let's not forget too that like places like Joann are going to mark up their items so that when they do the sale and bring them down, it really isn't going to save you that much money, especially for the quality that you're getting. I'm a huge proponent of sew what you can afford. Sew with the things that you can afford. But if you can support these smaller quilt shops, you're going to automatically get, when you walk in that door, the thing that I'm suggesting to Joann right now: top-notch customer service, a subject matter expert who can guide you and direct you. They can look at the back of a pattern and know exactly what to do and what to tell you to get. and you're feeding into your local economies. I will say apparel fabric, garment sewing fabric is a little trickier to find. As far as garment sewing fabric, I can highly recommend Boho Fabrics, LA Finch Fabrics, Fabric Mart. Those are three of my favorites. There's a million more. In conclusion, am I sad that Joann potentially is closing? Yes and no. I'm sad because it's a place that holds a lot of memories for me and historic significance, but unless they change some of their practices and invest in their employees to become subject matter experts to be able to help customers who walk in not really sure what to do, I don't know that they're going to succeed because they're not putting that effort into what really matters. And maybe they just can't. And this is a pipe dream. And that's whatever. It is what it is. My second point, please, please, please consider supporting your local quilt stores and shops. They need our support. They have the knowledge base. They're passionate about what they're selling. Why wouldn't we want to give them our business? And if Joann goes out of business or you don't live near a craft store, follow me. I like to talk about unconventional sewing on a shoestring budget. If you have no money, I will show you how to go to Dollar Tree and find things that you can turn into beautiful sewing projects. These craft stores going out of business is what I've been training for. This has been kind of scattered, but those are my thoughts on the Joann bankruptcy situation. I would love for y'all to sound off on this as well in the comments. Let me know what you think about this bankruptcy and what it means to you as a crafter, quilter, sewer, whatever you are. Thank you so much for listening to my rambling. I'm Chelsea with She Sews Seams, and I'll see you next time.